This is a one-speaker meeting. Please welcome our speaker tonight, Barbara.
Yeah!
Hi, y'all. My name is Barbara, and I'm an alcoholic. And I even have glasses up here, just in case I have to read. That's a good thing. When I got sober, I didn't need glasses, God damn it. I love this group. You guys are a rowdy group, aren't you? Boy, woo. Did somebody say yeehaw? Yeah, yeehaw. I was at a meeting last night. It's a delicious meeting. It's the studio group Tuesday night, and they have an amazing format where you pick a topic, and then people talk about the topic, and then there's questions and answers, and you put them in the pot, and then, oh, as a matter of fact, our secretary was there. A leader? Yeah. Wasn't that a great meeting? It was so beautiful. And the topic was fellowship. And then the questions were real beautiful about step one and actually tradition one, which was wonderful. And also about surrender. And the one I really loved is what's to become of me now that I'm sober. I love that one. What's to become of me now that I'm sober? And we'll probably get into that because I had that same question. But the one thing I do have to say, before I got sober, this was a while back, and there were all kinds of things, like there was gurus to follow, and then there was est. Est was a big one. Most people are going to go, what is est? What the? But back in the 70s, est was a big thing. And then there was therapy. Of course, there's still therapy now. And then there was all kinds of things that I kind of tried out, you know, just to see what was wrong with me, you know. What the hell was wrong with me? I knew something was really wrong with me because I did not fit, and I'm just not talking about, I could fit really good with other people, you know, I could get the right language, I'd talk like other people, you know, I'd say all the words that other people were saying. But on the inside, I just felt like a stranger in a strange land. I felt like I didn't fit. There's this one, this guy Grendel, he was in this book Beowulf, and people laughing because they probably know, but Grendel was this monster that used to eat people for breakfast in the morning. You know, yeah, delicious. But he was just ugly. He was just plain out ugly and awful, and he'd walk around dragging, kind of like Frankenstein. But and I also loved Frankenstein. I loved the book, and I loved the movie Frankenstein. Because here was this awful, ugly guy falling in love, too. He'd fall in love like that. And Grendel was kind of the same way. He had this tenderness inside of him, and people would look at him and they go, ah, and they'd run away, and of course his feelings would be hurt, right? And so what he'd do is he'd pick them up and he'd eat them, you know? Because his feelings were hurt. Well, that's kind of how I felt on the inside. You know, on the outside, I looked like Doris Day, you know, nice from the Midwest, freckles, blonde hair, and I would look like a hippie, wore tie-dye, and I had a great tie-dye skirt and matching top that I just wish I wish they had digital cameras back then. But it was just, I made it all by myself. I just thought it was so beautiful. And I wished that, and it was beautiful, and I had absolutely no idea about beauty. You know, I had no idea, because I felt like such a Grendel. I felt like such a monster on the inside, you know? And what was really great is coming to Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, I was not prone to come to AA. First of all, it wasn't cool to come to AA, you know? I mean, following a guru in the 70s, that was cool. But coming to AA in the 70s, that was not cool. And I just had this vision of, you know, what it was going to be like here. I really thought, and it wasn't that whole thing about being from Skid Row and guys with raincoats and a light bulb dangling down, smoking cigarettes and feeling really depressed. I would have liked that. That would have been wonderful for me. But it was the vision of everybody was like, oh, yes, I joined AA, and now I have my lovely wife over here, and my 2.2 kids, and we're really happy. You know, like the Stepford wife or something. I was really afraid that's what was going to happen, and I really did not want that to happen. But, you know, you drink enough, and you know, I had bad times. There was a lot of embarrassing times. There was a lot of places where I shouldn't have been, things I shouldn't have done, and a lot of embarrassing moments, and just entirely too many people I slept with. It was just, and I can't remember them, you know. Now, it's probably Alzheimer's now, but back then, it was blackouts, you know, and I just can't remember hardly any of that. And so it was bad enough. It was bad enough that, but that wasn't the main thing. All that kind of stuff wasn't really the main thing. Couldn't keep a job. I never lost a job, though. I just stopped showing up, you know. So in the 20 questions, it said, did you ever lose a job because of drinking? Oh, no. I never lost a job because of drinking. Of course, I had 10 jobs in the last 2 months, but I never lost a job because of drinking. But the thing that got to me, the biggest thing, is on the inside, I knew I was dying. I knew I was dying on the inside. And there was something about that that was like more painful than an automobile accident. It was more painful than sleeping with too many guys. It was more painful than any of that stuff. It was like I felt like I was dead on the inside. There was no spark there. There was nothing going on. And I don't know about you all as alcoholics, but I know we're not special really, you know, but we like to think we are. So with that said, I think that we alcoholics have this special kind of light that was given to us when we got born. And it was a light that longs to be a part of. I think that's what I'd like to say, that longs to be, how can I say, I don't mean in the part of like with the group or, you know, everybody says yes, so I'll say yes. Everybody wears denim, so I'll wear denim. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about go, you know, swimming downstream and just knowing that the way, kind of like how I felt on acid, really, you know? Actually, kind of how I felt the first time I got drunk. It was like, oh, yeah. Kind of like the first time I heard blues. And I was talking about this last night. When I heard the blues for the first time, it was like, oh, and I'm from Chicago too, and there's great blues in Chicago. And it was like, oh God, it was like talking to me. They were talking to me, and they were saying, Barbara Jo Crawford, everything is gonna be all right. It's gonna be just fine. Your heart aches and my heart aches too. And this is where we're gonna go, and we're gonna dance to it, and it's gonna be cool. It'll be just right. And then the harp would come, and I'd just die. It was so great. My heart was alive. My spirit was alive. And as I was drinking more and more, not so much more and more, because I developed a tolerance, but as I was drinking longer and longer, every night, every night, every night, every night, somebody said, well, you were only out there, because I knew I was an alcoholic probably when I was about 22, and I got sober when I was 29. And somebody said, well, you were only out there for 7 years, you're lightweight. And I, you know, thought to myself, I didn't have enough nerve to say it to this old fogey, but I thought to myself, you take, you know, 365 days, and you times them by 7, and that's an awful lot of days to feel desperate. That's an awful lot of days to long for that initial high where it was like the blues and beautiful, beautiful. That's an awful long time. And it wasn't like it was always awful. It was like there were moments that were really wonderful. Why would I keep drinking, you know? There was nothing like it at all. That whole thing about, oh, there's Hector. Hi, Hector. About, you know, about being absolutely in the flow. And what I want to say is that for me, that is spirituality. And I don't think that they call alcohol spirits for nothing, you know? That is spirituality. And I think all of us, I mean, this, I can only really speak for myself, but I think that what I wanted is to get connected. And I wanted to get connected to a higher power, so I wasn't a stranger in a strange land. And here's the interesting thing. I finally came into AA. And the first night I came, first of all, I thought I was too young. I mean, I was 29. That's not too young. But I thought, it's never right to get sober. Really, it isn't. You could be 65, you're too old, right? 22, you're too young. 200 pounds, you're too fat. 100 pounds, you're too skinny, right? I'm girls, 200 pounds, and I'm 5'5". And there you go. And there's never the right time to get, you don't have enough money. You got too much money. There's always a reason not to get sober. Always a reason not to get sober. And it's exactly the right time to get sober. Exactly the right time to get sober. So anyways, I go into this meeting, and the woman that I went with lived in Venice, and she was very hip. She was very beautiful. And she was younger than I was. So it was all the things that I thought were reasons, I'm still too young to get sober, I'm too hip to get sober. But the problem is I never was very hip. I was trying to be cool, but I just never was. I just have never been a cool person. What can I tell you? I always wanted to be the woman in the back smoking a cigarette, just about, just like that. But I wasn't that way. I wanted to be that way. I was like, hi, how you doing? Maybe next life I'll be cool. I don't know. But these were all the reasons not for me not to get sober. And here this woman was in front of me, and she was sober. And we went to this meeting at Ohio Street on a Saturday night, and that was about 34 years ago, 35 now, my God. 34. And people were, full of life, and they were not necessarily beauty stars, they weren't movie stars or gorgeous. Some were pretty gorgeous, and a lot of them were really wrinkled. For you young ones over there, a lot of them were really wrinkled. But if you looked at them in the eyes, what you would see is this light. What I saw was this light in their eyes. And I got this, there's Adam, my goodness. Oh, the stories I could tell about Adam. And then, but they're not X-rated, darn. But I wasn't cool enough, I think. Okay, I'm not going to make you blush anymore. Okay. Anyway, there was light in people's eyes, and they were all so happy to see me. It wasn't like, oh, who are you? It wasn't like, I'm cooler than you are, or anything like that. It was like, oh, an alcoholic. Oh, what's your name? Your name's Barb. Come on, just sit right down here. And I thought, but there was something on the inside that went, these people, they're talking my language. They're a rowdy bunch. Kind of like when I walked through that front door, everybody's going, blah, 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 blah. Oh, hi, how you doing? Blah, 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 blah. And I went, these are my people, this is my language. And they were talking my language, and I could hear it, but I didn't really want to hear it. And the other thing that got in the way is this word program. Because I didn't like the idea of being programmed, Because I thought what would happen is if I got programmed, I would become an autonomon, you know what I mean, a robot. Hello, I am a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I have followed the steps of the program. And I just went, oh, please, no. I didn't like the word program, didn't like that word. Because I had been to a lot of programs. I had been programmed out, But I saw that look in your eyes. And you were not automatons. You were not robots. You were just sorted enough. You were just green enough around the edges. You were just snarly enough. You were just beautiful enough. You had just enough light in your eyes to make me think twice. And I did. And I went home. Oh, yeah, we did the Lord's Prayer at the very end. And I, to this day, I really, politically, one person's opinion only, politically, I don't like the Lord's Prayer so much because it's a Christian prayer, and I think that we all should be a part of Buddhists and Christians and agnostics, and everybody should be a part of Alcoholics Anonymous without necessarily Christian prayer. But I really, ultimately, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me because it brings, whatever it is, brings us together. But there I was saying the Lord's Prayer. Now, I say that politically, and I have to tell you, every time I go into a Christian church, I start crying like a baby because I'm so touched by it. But yeah, that's one of our inconsistencies. What can I tell you? We're all weird. I'm weird. So here we are holding hands, and we're doing the Lord's Prayer. And I start bawling like a baby, just like a baby. Because I was saying to myself, well, this is very nice. I really like it, good. And the lady who took me said, take everybody's number. It's really important. I went, okay, got your number, just doing all that. And then at the very end, I started bawling like a baby, and it gave me feelings, It was hard. I lived in Silver Lake at the time in Ohio Streets in West L.A., and I was taking a bus. I got on the bus. I couldn't wait to get home so I could get my wine. Do you know what I mean? That meeting wore me out. That was enough to wear me out. Jesus. That was in November. It took until May to get sober. And I would go to meetings just like everybody says. I'd go to meetings late. I'd leave early. I'd go to the Al-Anon meetings. I was going with this Argentinian Jew by the name of Enrique Daniel Weidman. And one of these days he's going to be in this room. He's going to punch me in the nose. But he was walking Spanish, and he would say, this is my girlfriend, Barbara. And I love that, And so this Al-Anon lady comes over and says, hello, what's your name? Enrique. Oh, hello, Enrique. And who are you? My name's Barbara. And she smelled the alcohol on my breath. I know she did. And she said, well, now, dear, why are you here? And I said, well, I'm supporting my boyfriend in Al-Anon. Anything but an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, Because I didn't want to go see you, because you touched me too deep. It was too much. I was used to being a loner. I was used to being a stranger in a strange land. I didn't want any of this warm, fuzzy stuff. And even though I was raised a hippie, I do a really good hippie impersonation. Nobody was going to touch me with a 10-foot pole. Wasn't going to happen. Wasn't going to happen. So coming to AA was a very tender thing for me, except, again, you get drunk enough, you get dead enough on the inside, and you're willing to go to any lengths. So it was a Tuesday night, and I had just gotten home from my file clerk job in a nonprofit organization. I was really living up to my potential at the age of 29. Every time, back then, when you filed, I don't even know if there are file clerks now, there's computer organizers or something, but, I would go, I would file like this. It was just terrible. And because I had a nervous disorder, and the nervous disorder was called a hangover, It's bad. It's really bad. My father had the same bad hangovers. His hangovers just never went away. He just had one continuous hangover, except for that 5 minutes after like the fourth martini. He'd be just like this, but it would only last for 5 minutes. So I was kind of getting there, getting to my father's little point of view place. And there I was doing my file clerk thing, and I had just finished coming home, and I was sitting there with my two ACAs. Those were adult cats of an alcoholic. And we were looking out, being lonely, and I thought, I have an idea. Oh, yeah, I was drinking my 18%er. I think it was port. I can't remember if it was port or sherry. That was the only thing, but it doesn't really matter now, does it? All I knew was an 18%er sitting there being lonely and a stranger. And I thought, I got a good idea. You know those ideas that you have while you're being lonely and drinking, I have a good idea. I have a great idea. Let me write to my boyfriend. I love you. I'm taking it to the mailbox. Yeah. That one, well, I had a really good idea. And what my idea was, I was going to call central office, right? Good idea. And go to a meeting tomorrow night. You know how, like, you go to the gym, you go, I don't want to go to the gym tonight. I'll go to the gym tomorrow night. And, I'll go to the gym tomorrow night. And then, yeah, I'll go to the gym tomorrow night. You can do that with meetings, too, but most of you would never do a thing like that, I can tell. Anyway, so I said, I'll just call up central office. And this guy with this great voice comes on. And I'm known for having a really good voice over the phone, And I thought, well, maybe I'll seduce this guy to come over to my house at midnight and do a 12-step call on me. So I was talking to this guy, and he said, I said, I'd like to go to a meeting tomorrow night. And he said, well, why don't you go to a meeting tonight? And I went, well, I can't. Why not? Well, because I'm drunk. And he said, the most beautiful thing, which I want to repeat because it's so important for all of us to hear this. Again, another opinion, okay? He said, how do you think alcoholics get to Alcoholics Anonymous? They can't control their drinking. And that was really important for me because the meeting that worked for me, I was drunk at. I just want to say that. I remember sitting over there once about a year ago with a guy who was so smelly with alcohol, and I thought to myself, good, I am so glad. Thank you, God, that this young man is here. That's such a wonderful thing, and it was like, I wasn't going to make a 12-step call on this young man because I'm an old woman, but I did turn to him and I said, I'm so glad you're here. Larry, will you come over here and talk to this guy? Because that's what we do. That's what we do. Now, there's a lot of drunks that come in and go, blah, blah, blah. Nobody can hear over it. Okay, well, they're misbehaving. Like any, when you misbehave in an AA meeting, you're asked to leave. That's all there is to it. But being drunk is what we do. It is grace. For me, I cannot tell you what a grace it is to be sober. I am so graced. And where is Pat? Where's Patty? She's not here, is she? She had to go. Yeah. I mean, I think of Patty, Patty's got cancer right now, and she'd tell you it's public and all. But, Patty's in grace because she's walking through this as a sober woman, and she's surrounded by her peeps, She's surrounded by love. Now, how do I know about shit like that? Well, in sobriety, I hate when old-timers come up and tell you all the bad things, but I'll tell you the bad things first, then I'll tell you the good things. So in sobriety, I had a breast cancer. That was kind of scary. And then I had a brain tumor, and that was definitely fucking scary. That was scary. And a lot of you guys walked me through it, and Patty was one of them. I was the secretary of a meeting here on Saturday night, and Patty took over the secretaryship while I was, praying to God as I was being, wheeled away. And the woman, I fell in love with the woman. You just never know what's going to happen here. And I was going, bye, Kathy, bye. And she was going, bye, Barb, bye. And then I was just going, God is in the instruments. God is in the instruments. God is in the instruments. And of course, look at me now. I only have slight brain damage because I'm old, not because of, I had this bad old tumor as big as a prune in the middle of my head, in my cerebellum. And I have to tell you, I love to dance. To this day, I love to dance. I love dancing. And I didn't want anything bad to happen to my cerebellum because that's the movement center, and I didn't want to look too spastic. I still wanted to look sexy when I danced, so. God accommodated. Isn't that lovely? And then after that, I think a lot of you kind of know this. I mean, you probably heard about this one. I had hepatitis C. And, well, that's an interesting disease to have. Kind of gnaws away at your liver a day at a time, a little bit. And for some people, like me, it gets pretty bad. So here I am, 31 years sober, and I have fucking cirrhosis. I'm going, okay, God, what's the joke in this one? What is the joke here? I'm listening. And you know what God said? He said, honey, I just want to tell you, the joke isn't a joke. It's that I love you very much, and they got a treatment out there, and it's a really hard treatment. It's a terrible, terrible hard treatment, but it could cure you, and that's a really, really good thing. And I will see to it that you have enough. I will see to it that you have enough money, because I'm having a conversation with God going, no money, God. How am I going to be working, feeling like bad? He said, there'll be enough. I go, oh, yeah, really? There'll be enough? Faith. How about, this treatment makes you really depressed and suicidal and all kinds of weird things when you're on it. Well, dear, you're going to get through it. It's going to be okay. You're going to be surrounded by love. Oh, really? Oh, really? I think people are probably going to walk away, Well, faith. Have faith, my darling. And so I finished the treatment last December, and I am hepatitis C free. And as a result of that, I became a member of the Los Angeles Hepatitis C Task Force. And we're putting together retreats, It's like, that is not my nature, to make lemonade out of fucking lemons, When I got that call from the doctor saying that I had cirrhosis, I just said, this is very spiritual at the age of 31 years. I said, well, just let me kill myself. Okay, that was my first response. And I'm telling you that because this is how this alcoholic works my life, okay? That was my first response. I'm basically a redhead, all right? Redheads have terrible tempers. Thank God for the program. So my first reaction was, let me just kill myself. I don't care. I'm 61 years old. Who the hell cares? I don't care. And then after I did that, I cried. God. Then I had that nice conversation with God. And then guess what I did? I went to a meeting. And then guess what I did? I talked to you. And when I talked to you, I talked to a guy. His name is Paul. He's not here tonight, but he's part of the Try God group. And he said, yeah, I went through that treatment. Remember, Barb, 5 years ago? Remember how hard it was? And every time I would go to that meeting, he would say, how you doing, girl? How you doing? What's going on? It wasn't like, oh, how are you doing? Or what can I do to help you? It was like, one person talking to another. Because we know this, one alcoholic talking to another. So you heard the bad news. Now, I've only got 4 or 5 minutes to tell you the good news. And so I'll tell you really quick. First thing, you probably gathered just by looking at me that I love life, and I do. I love life. And that spirit that felt like it was just all the darkest, little, most hopeless thing in the whole world when I came to Alcoholics Anonymous is beaming bright. And that doesn't have to do with me. That's not about me. This is about the place that I go where I hear the language of my heart, where all the Grendels come together. How are you doing? I'm great. And certainly not on the outside. We got some pretty good looking people around here, but on the inside, And then we have a way to go, a way for us to take our lives. And I think about it, I was talking to somebody who was in an AA, and they were saying, yeah, that AA program is really good, it's where people take responsibility. They're just talking, where they take responsibility for their lives and they make things right that went wrong when they were drinking and using, and they stay honest and honorable, and they stay, they stay connected to a higher power. I think that's a really good program. And I love the way he did that, because that's basically what we do. We're a little more rowdy about it than the way he was talking about us. We're a little more, I don't know, he probably doesn't understand us from the inside. But what we've got is an incredible, I hate to say the word, program that was written and developed by alcoholics, by Bill W. And he would come and he would take his readings and he would say, all right, everybody, to the group, all right, everybody, I think I got it now. Okay, step 3. We got down on our knees and humbly, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, Bill, I don't think we're going to do the down on our knees thing, because not everybody thinks that, it's the right thing to go down on your knees. And you go, whoa, what are you talking about? And guess who was saying that to him? The agnostics. It's like our program is developed by all of us, and it was developed by alcoholics, for alcoholics. And we know our language. Over all these generations, we know our language. And it's the language of the alcoholic heart. That's what it is. And that's what gives me breath. And that's what gives me life. And that's what gives me joy, So I can tell you about all the good things. I went to school, I became a social worker, wouldn't you guess? Never cool, but a social worker, okay? And I started working in HIV and AIDS, and it was, still am, and it's an incredible field to go in. It has a lot of meaning for me. Now I'm involved in hepatitis C, and my life is very, very rich. Very, very rich and full. And all the things I thought I was going to have that would make me happy when I got sober, I have hardly any of those. I don't hardly even have money, But oh my God, there are so many things that are worth $1 million. I'll just say one other thing. There was a party for a buddy of mine. His name was Larry R., and he celebrated 30 years of sobriety. And in this party, some people hear 30 years and they go, I just don't say anything more because my mind has just been turned off. 30 years, I'm not even 30 years old. So just forget 30 years. But he celebrated a birthday in sobriety. And in that room, there were people that meant so much to me for so many years, people that I have known for such a long time. Now, I am, I'm a traveler. I was raised a lot in foster homes. If my father had money, I went to rich places. If he didn't have money, I went to state homes and stuff like that. So I don't know from staying in one place or having friends for very long. It's just one after another. It doesn't really, But to have friends for 30 years, $1 million, friends for 30 years. Me, right now, friends for 30 years. Sober. Language of the sober heart. I couldn't ask for more. And that belongs to the grace of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm so graced to be here. Thank you very much.